The enigmatic history of the McMenamins Olympic Club. Tucked away in the heart of downtown Tacoma, Washington, the McMenamins Olympic Club stands as a testament to both architectural beauty and historical intrigue. Originally established in 1925 as a private athletic club for the city's elite, this grand edifice has witnessed decades of social gatherings, sporting events, and community celebrations. Its stately facade, adorned with intricate details and ornate moldings, speaks volumes about the era it was born into, a time when elegance and exclusivity defined social life. Yet beneath its polished exterior lies a tapestry of tales that intertwine the past with the present, creating an atmosphere thick with history. The club quickly became a hub for local politicians, business leaders, and celebrities, drawing crowds who reveled in the camaraderie of shared experiences. However, as the decades rolled on, whispers began to circulate about strange occurrences within its walls. Patrons and staff alike reported inexplicable sounds echoing through the halls, laughter at odd hours, footsteps where no one stood, and the occasional flicker of lights that danced without explanation. These accounts sparked a growing curiosity about the building's haunted reputation, drawing paranormal enthusiasts and skeptics alike to explore the mysteries that lingered in the shadows. As the stories grew, so did the allure of the Olympic Club. It transformed from a mere establishment into a local legend. Each visitor brought their own interpretation of the phenomena they experienced, adding layers to the narrative that would eventually become part of the club's identity. The juxtaposition of its vibrant history with the eerie happenings has only deepened the intrigue surrounding the McMenamins Olympic Club, inviting all who dare to uncover the secrets hidden within its storied walls. The grandeur of the Olympic Club in the heart of Tacoma, tucked among the red-bricked facades of Commerce Street, stands a building of imposing elegance, the Olympic Club. Though its windows have long since dimmed and the grand chandeliers hang in still silence, the legacy of its roaring past continues to echo through every hallway, every stairwell, and every creaking floorboard. Built in 1925 at the height of Tacoma's early 20th century Renaissance, the Olympic Club was the vision of architect Harold W. Dodds, whose designs were already becoming synonymous with sophistication and urban luxury across the Pacific Northwest. Commissioned by a coalition of businessmen, scholars, and civic leaders, the club was conceived not merely as a social retreat, but as a fortress of culture, a place where intellect, athleticism, and refinement coexisted. From the moment it opened its doors, the Olympic Club dazzled. Its majestic facade, framed by Corinthian columns and wrought iron balconies, gave way to an interior that rivaled any East Coast establishment. A grand ballroom, encased in polished oak and crowned with vaulted ceilings, served as the centerpiece. Nearby, a marble indoor pool gleamed beneath stained glass skylights. There were squash courts, a Turkish bath, a mahogany-paneled library, and a dining hall with crystal chandeliers so elaborate they were said to have been imported from a defunct Viennese opera house. Membership to the Olympic Club was by invitation only. Politicians, railroad barons, ship magnates, and university deans flocked to its halls. It was here that deals were made over cigars and port, where speeches were given, alliances forged, and secrets whispered. By the early 1930s, the Olympic Club had become not only a landmark of architecture and luxury, but the very heart of Tacoma's elite social order. The golden years, the 1930s and 40s, brought a golden glow to the club's legacy. During the Great Depression, while much of the country reeled, the Olympic Club stood firm, its halls filled with laughter, string quartets, and a steady rotation of gala events that brightened even the darkest national moods. Jazz musicians from New Orleans, New York, and Seattle were frequently booked for weekend performances, filling the ballroom with trumpet swells and the silken voice of clarinet. Waiters in crisp white jackets glided across the floor, balancing silver trays of oysters Rockefeller and flutes of champagne. Couples in evening dress spun beneath soft light as if the world beyond those gilded doors did not exist. During World War II, the club's library became an unofficial think tank for city leaders and military consultants. Maps were unfurled across tables. Debates lasted until dawn. A rumor persisted that in one of the library's alcoves, strategies for troop deployments along the West Coast were quietly exchanged between naval officers and academics under the guise of casual conversation. And still, the club remained a place of leisure. After tense meetings or business negotiations, men retired to the Turkish bath or relaxed by the indoor pool, where heated waters frothed gently against polished tile. The pool, with its ivy-covered skylights and echoing acoustics, was often empty past midnight, except, perhaps, for one or two members nursing a brandy while floating alone, surrounded by shadows and steam. The decline as Tacoma evolved, the world around the Olympic Club changed too. The 1960s brought social upheaval and a redefinition of elite institutions. Younger generations turned away from exclusive clubs, viewing them as outdated relics of classism and privilege. The once glittering ballrooms began to host fewer events. Jazz was replaced by silence. Membership waned. By the 1980s, only a few dozen members remained, most of them aging men whose names had once headlined business journals. The building, though still majestic, was worn. Wallpaper peeled at the corners. Chandeliers gathered dust. The Turkish bath had closed for renovations that never came. Rumors swirled that a section of the squash court floor had collapsed after a pipe burst, left unrepaired. But it wasn't just decline that began to plague the Olympic Club. It was oddity. Staff who remained, mostly custodians, caretakers, and a retired chef who refused to leave, spoke of peculiar happenings. Whispers heard from empty rooms. The distinct smell of cigar smoke in long-abandoned offices. A jazz melody faintly playing from behind the closed doors of the ballroom, even when the building was entirely empty. One janitor, Victor Ramirez, who worked nights during the late 80s, became infamous for the story he shared on a local radio show. "I was mopping the dining hall," he'd said, "and I look up and there, clear as day, is a man in a tuxedo, just standing by the fireplace. He wasn't threatening. He looked sad, like he didn't know the party was over." Victor swore the man faded before his eyes. Another story came from a visiting journalist in 1992, researching Tacoma's forgotten landmarks. She claimed to have seen reflections in mirrors that didn't match her own position. "It was as if someone else was walking behind me," she wrote. "But when I turned, the room was empty." A second life in the early 2000s, a spark of revival came. The McMenamins brothers, known for transforming historical properties into vibrant, eclectic hotels and venues, purchased the building. They preserved much of the original architecture while breathing new life into it. The indoor pool became an atrium bar. The library was restored, and the ballroom reopened for weddings, concerts, and art shows. But McMenamins didn't shy away from the building's ghostly past. In fact, they embraced it. The Olympic Club became a destination not just for beer lovers and history buffs, but also for ghost hunters and paranormal enthusiasts. Staff started offering haunted tours. Stories like Victor's were printed on coasters and menus. Rooms were named after past members and rumored spirits. Guests now reported similar encounters. A bride, getting ready in the ballroom suite, claimed she saw an old woman's reflection behind her in the vanity mirror, wearing a 1930s-era gown and adjusting a string of pearls. Children staying overnight whispered about a man in a bowler hat watching from the end of the hallway, who vanished when approached. Still, the vibe of the place remained warm. If the Olympic Club is haunted, it is by a certain melancholy joy. The echoes of laughter, the faint strains of forgotten music, the wistful lingering of a grand age gone by. The man in the mirror. Perhaps the most compelling story of the Olympic Club's supernatural lore is that of Dr. Emery Blake. A founding member, Blake was a surgeon and polymath, a regular speaker at club lectures and a fixture in the library. Known for his elegant demeanor and taste for single malt scotch, Blake was also a recluse in later years, reportedly spending entire weekends in the club, sleeping in one of the upper suites and walking the halls at night. In 1954, he suffered a fatal heart attack in the library, slumped over a volume of Shakespeare's The Tempest. His obituary lauded him as a giant of intellect and grace. But soon after, the legend began. Visitors claimed to see a man reading silently in the library, a book resting on his lap, a drink beside him. One child, part of a school tour in the 2000s, pointed into the glass-paneled library doors and said, "That man's not smiling. He looks lonely." No one else saw him. Legacy today, the McMenamins Olympic Club stands as both museum and venue, a hybrid of past and present. Tourists marvel at the grandeur, the preserved ceilings, the original sconces, the rich woods and tapestries. Locals gather for concerts or craft beers. Writers retreat to the library for inspiration, and lovers dance under the same chandeliers that once twinkled above city elites a century ago. Yet even amid its rejuvenation, the Olympic Club retains its air of haunted majesty. It is a place where time blurs. Eerie encounters and unexplained phenomena. Over the years, numerous guests and employees have recounted chilling encounters within the walls of the McMenamins Olympic Club, lending credence to its growing reputation as a hotspot for paranormal activity. One of the most frequently cited areas of the building is the ballroom, where guests often report hearing faint music and the soft patter of dancing footsteps late at night, despite the room being completely empty. Some claim to see fleeting silhouettes gliding across the floor, vanishing before they can be fully perceived. Staff members have also described instances where radios and speakers activate on their own, playing vintage jazz tunes reminiscent of the club's heyday. On occasion, the music stops abruptly mid-song, leaving behind an oppressive silence that many find deeply unsettling. Another recurring phenomenon occurs near the staircase leading to the second floor, where individuals have reported feeling an unseen presence brushing against them or tugging at their clothing. Some describe a sudden chill sweeping through the area, accompanied by the distant sound of laughter echoing from nowhere in particular. Employees working late shifts have spoken of encountering a mysterious woman dressed in early 20th century attire, standing motionless in the hallway before disappearing into thin air. Her presence is said to evoke an overwhelming sense of sadness, as if she is trapped between worlds, forever wandering the halls of the club. The men's locker room is another site of frequent paranormal reports. Visitors and staff alike have described seeing fog mysteriously forming around the old wooden benches, despite the absence of any moisture source. Some claim to hear the sound of water splashing in the nearby shower stalls when no one is present, while others have captured strange anomalies in photographs, unexplained orbs of light, shadowy figures lurking in corners, and distorted reflections in mirror surfaces. One particularly disturbing account comes from a bartender who claimed to have seen a man in a vintage tuxedo standing beside the bar late one evening, only for him to vanish when approached. The man reportedly left no footprints, no sound, and no trace, only the lingering scent of cigar smoke in the air. These unexplained occurrences have only fueled speculation about the Olympic Club's haunted nature, drawing paranormal investigators and thrill-seekers eager to experience the supernatural firsthand. Whether these experiences are remnants of the club's former patrons or something far older remains a mystery, but one thing is certain: the Olympic Club continues to hold on to its spectral secrets, waiting for the next unsuspecting soul to uncover them. Theories behind the haunting. Numerous theories attempt to unravel the enigma of the McMenamins Olympic Club's haunting, each steeped in the rich tapestry of its history. One prevalent belief suggests that the spirits haunting the premises are those of former members and staff who spent countless hours within its walls during the club's golden age. These souls may be unable to move on, tethered to the memories of laughter, music, and camaraderie that filled the air in times gone by. As one employee recounted, "It feels like they want to keep the party going," hinting at a longing for connection and celebration that transcends death. Local historians and paranormal investigators have delved deeper, proposing that the building itself might act as a vessel for residual energy, echoes of emotions and experiences imprinted on the very fabric of the structure. This theory posits that the intense social interactions and emotional highs of the club's heyday created a psychic imprint, allowing past energies to manifest through various phenomena. Such manifestations include the ghostly music that wafts through the ballroom, or the ethereal laughter heard in the hallways, which some believe are simply reenactments of joyous moments frozen in time. Moreover, there is speculation that the club's location plays a role in its haunted reputation. Situated in a historically significant part of Tacoma, the land itself may have been witness to events predating the club's construction. Indigenous lore suggests that the area was once considered sacred, and some locals feel that the spirits of ancestors remain, drawn to the energy of the club and its vibrant history. This intermingling of cultures and histories creates a complex layer of spiritual significance that adds depth to the haunting narrative. In addition to these spiritual explanations, Psychological perspectives suggest that the collective belief in the club's haunted nature may amplify the experiences of those who visit. The power of suggestion can heighten sensory perceptions, leading individuals to interpret normal occurrences as paranormal. Guests entering the Olympic Club with preconceived notions of its haunted status may subconsciously seek out signs of the supernatural, thus reinforcing the cycle of stories and experiences that contribute to the club's eerie reputation. Ultimately, whether these phenomena stem from lingering spirits, residual energies, or the psychology of belief, the McMenamins Olympic Club remains a captivating blend of history and mystery, inviting all who enter to ponder the boundaries between the living and the dead. Chilling encounters at the Olympic Club. Among the many who have stepped into the McMenamins Olympic Club, few have left untouched by the unsettling experiences that unfold within its walls. One such individual was Lila Carter, a college student who visited the club with her friends on a quiet Friday evening. They had heard whispers of the Olympic Club's haunted reputation and decided to test their nerves by exploring the building after dinner. As they wandered through the dimly lit corridors, Lila felt an inexplicable shift in the air, an icy draft that sent shivers down her spine despite the mild temperature inside. "It was like walking into a freezer," she recalled, her voice barely above a whisper. "And then I heard it, a woman crying softly, just beyond the doorway." Her friends, skeptical of the club's legends, urged her to brush it off as nothing more than the wind, but Lila insisted that the sound was unmistakably human. Determined to investigate, the group pushed open the heavy wooden door leading to what appeared to be an old lounge. Inside, the air was thick with an almost palpable energy, and the overhead lights flickered erratically, casting erratic shadows across the worn leather couches and antique furnishings. Suddenly, the sobbing stopped, replaced by a low, guttural whisper that none of them could understand. The temperature plummeted, and one of Lila's friends yanked her back, urging them all to leave immediately. As they rushed out, Lila swore she saw a figure in the corner of the room, a tall man in a tuxedo, watching them in silence before vanishing as suddenly as he had appeared. Other visitors have reported similarly harrowing experiences, including James Holloway, a seasoned paranormal investigator who made several trips to the Olympic Club in search of definitive proof of the supernatural. During one of his, when reviewing the tapes later, he discovered a series of voices that were not attributable to any known sources. One particularly chilling clip contained a child's laughter followed by a distorted voice repeating, "Don't stay too long." James admitted he had difficulty explaining the phenomenon, stating, "I've worked on dozens of cases, but this was different. It felt like something was watching us, listening to every word we said." Perhaps the most unnerving encounter came from Marlene Reyes, a longtime employee who had worked at the Olympic Club for over a decade. Marlene had grown accustomed to the occasional flickering lights and distant murmurs, dismissing them as quirks of the old building. However, one late evening while cleaning the upstairs hallway, she noticed something unusual. A familiar painting of a 1920s-era woman had turned slightly askew, though she was certain she had left it perfectly straight. As she reached out to adjust it, she felt a cold hand brush against her wrist, sending a jolt of fear through her body. She spun around, expecting to see a coworker, but found herself utterly alone. From that night on, Marlene claimed she always felt a pair of eyes watching her whenever she passed that particular corridor. These personal accounts, along with countless others, contribute to the ever-growing legend of the Olympic Club's haunting. Whether the experiences stem from residual energy, lingering spirits, or something altogether unknown, one thing remains certain: those who enter the club may find themselves remembering more than just the drinks they ordered. The investigation begins, unveiling the secrets of the Olympic Club with a mix of excitement and trepidation coursing through my veins. I prepared for my investigation into the haunted legacy of the McMenamins Olympic Club. Armed with my trusty camera, a digital voice recorder, and a notebook for documenting every detail, I set out to capture the essence of this historic building. My heart raced at the thought of what awaited me inside those aged walls, where laughter had once mingled with echoes of the past. As I pulled up to the Olympic Club, the imposing facade loomed above me, bathed in the soft glow of streetlights. It was a beautiful yet foreboding sight, and I couldn't shake the feeling that the building was watching me, silently inviting me to uncover its secrets. Upon entering, I was struck by the ambience. Dim lighting combined with the faint hum of history resonated through the air. The lobby was expansive, with its high ceilings and ornate chandeliers creating a sense of grandeur that contrasted sharply with the eerie stillness that enveloped me. I began my exploration in the ballroom, a space rumored to be a hotspot for paranormal activity. As I stepped inside, the temperature dropped noticeably, sending a shiver down my spine. The large windows framed the night sky, and the silence felt heavy, punctuated only by the sound of my heartbeat echoing in my ears. I set up my equipment, positioning the camera to capture wide shots of the room while I activated the voice recorder. I spoke into it, introducing myself and stating my purpose for being there, hoping to establish a connection with whatever entities might be lingering. "Is anyone here?" I asked aloud, my voice trembling slightly. For a moment, nothing happened, just the sound of the air circulating through the vents. Then, unexpectedly, a faint melody began to play, soft, lilting notes that seemed to drift in from nowhere. It was a vintage tune, reminiscent of the jazz that once filled this room during the club's heyday. I froze, heart pounding, as the music swirled around me, conjuring images of dancers gliding across the polished floor. Was this a residual echo of the past, or was someone trying to communicate? Determined to delve deeper, I moved toward the staircase that led to the upper levels, where many had reported strange occurrences. Each step creaked underfoot, amplifying my anxiety with every ascent. Halfway up, I paused, noticing a flicker of movement in my peripheral vision. Turning swiftly, I caught a glimpse of a shadow darting across the landing above me. My breath hitched, and I struggled to maintain my composure. "Who's there?" I called out, my voice cracking slightly. Silence greeted me again, thick and suffocating. Undeterred, I continued to the top of the stairs, entering a hallway lined with portraits of the club's former members. Their painted eyes seemed to follow me, and I felt a chill crawl up my spine. I focused on one portrait in particular, a distinguished gentleman in a tuxedo, his expression inscrutable. As I studied his features, I felt an overwhelming sense of melancholy wash over me, as if he were burdened by untold stories. I whispered, "What do you want me to know?" Suddenly, the air shifted, and I heard a soft sigh, almost like a breath escaping from the depths of the building itself. It was a sound that seemed to resonate within me, stirring emotions I couldn't quite articulate. I quickly grabbed my voice recorder, hoping to capture any evidence of this interaction. "Did anyone hear that?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper, but the silence remained unbroken. As I ventured further into the hallway, I encountered a small room that looked like it had once served as a lounge. The furniture was dusty, yet the atmosphere felt strangely inviting. I settled down, placing my equipment strategically to document anything that might occur. Sitting quietly, I closed my eyes, allowing myself to attune to the environment. Moments ticked by, and just when I thought nothing else would happen, I felt a gentle tug at my sleeve. Heart racing, I opened my eyes to find no one there. Yet, the sensation lingered, a reminder that I was not alone. I recorded my thoughts, noting the peculiar occurrence, and resolved to investigate further. With each passing moment, the tension in the air thickened, as if the very walls were closing in around me, urging me to uncover the truth hidden within their ancient timbers. Evidence from the Olympic Club. As I sat in the dimly lit lounge, heart pounding, I knew this was my chance to gather tangible proof of the Olympic Club's haunting. Adjusting my camera, I positioned it to capture the entire room, ensuring that any potential anomalies would be clearly visible. My voice recorder was already running, capturing the eerie silence that surrounded me. I took a deep breath, steadying myself before speaking directly into the microphone. "If there's anyone here, if you're trying to communicate, I'm here to listen," I announced, my voice firm despite the apprehension creeping through my bones. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, without warning, the camera's red recording light flickered, once, twice, and went dark. My stomach twisted. I leaned forward, tapping the device lightly, but it remained unresponsive. Frustrated, I reached for my backup recorder, only to find that its indicator light had also shut off. Every electronic device I had placed around the room, my phone included, had inexplicably powered down simultaneously. I wasn't alone. Swallowing hard, I decided to rely solely on my instincts. I kept my voice steady as I continued. Can you show yourself? Give us a sign that you're here. Silence stretched between us, heavier than before. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I caught movement. A faint shimmer, like heat rising off pavement, materialized near the far wall. It coalesced into a semi-transparent figure, a man in a vintage tuxedo, much like the ones depicted in the club's historical photos. His face was indistinct, blurred as though viewed through frosted glass, but his posture was unmistakably regal. He stood motionless, staring directly at me. I gasped, instinctively reaching for my now-dead camera. Are you from the club's past? I asked, forcing my voice to remain calm. The figure didn't respond, but instead tilted his head slightly, as if acknowledging my question. Then, just as suddenly as he had appeared, he vanished, dissipating into the air like mist. Shaken but determined, I checked my equipment again. Miraculously, the camera flickered back to life, its red light blinking steadily. I scrambled to retrieve the footage, my fingers trembling as I reviewed the recording. And there, embedded in the static-filled frame, was the unmistakable outline of the figure I had seen. A chill ran down my spine. But the encounter wasn't over. A sharp knock echoed from the hallway beyond the lounge door, 3 deliberate raps, as if someone were testing the boundary between our worlds. I hesitated, gripping my voice recorder tightly. If that's you, knock again. Knock. 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 3 more raps, clear and distinct. I swallowed hard, realizing that I had just received confirmation. Something, or someone, was responding. The Olympic Club was not done revealing its secrets. Reflections on the haunting experience. As I prepared to leave the McMenamins Olympic Club, a wave of emotions washed over me: fear, exhilaration, and a profound sense of connection to the past. The investigation had stirred something deep within me, igniting a spark of curiosity that I hadn't anticipated. The palpable energy of the building, coupled with the eerie encounters I experienced, left an indelible mark on my psyche. I couldn't help but reflect on the lives that once thrived within those walls, the laughter and conversations that had echoed through the ballroom, and the sorrow that seemed to cling to the very air. Each moment spent in that haunted haven felt like a dialogue between the living and the dead, a reminder that history is not merely a collection of dates and events, but a tapestry woven with human emotion and experience. As I walked out into the cool night air, the weight of the Olympic Club's legacy lingered in my mind. I couldn't shake the feeling that the spirits residing there were not just remnants of the past but guardians of stories yearning to be told. Their presence felt both comforting and unnerving, as if they were inviting me to delve deeper into the mysteries that surrounded them. I realized that my adventure was just the beginning of a journey, one that would take me to other haunted locations, each with its own unique history and spectral inhabitants. I encourage you, dear viewers, to share your thoughts and feelings about my experience at the Olympic Club. Have you visited any haunted places that left you with a similar sense of awe and trepidation? What stories do you carry from your own encounters with the unknown? Your insights and experiences enrich our collective understanding of the paranormal, and I would love to hear how these hauntings have touched your lives. As I look ahead, I am filled with excitement for future explorations. There are countless haunted sites waiting to reveal their secrets, each promising a new adventure and a chance to connect with the unseen. I invite you to join me on this journey as we continue to explore the realms of the supernatural together. So, until next time, keep your minds open and your hearts brave. There's always more to discover in the world of the haunted.